Alright guys, before we head into the video, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Umbral Stalker, Groomed to the Shadow Maiden. This is a story that took me by absolute surprise. The relationship between Nician, the protagonist, and Lucilius, who is not exactly an antagonist, but they have a very compelling dynamic throughout the book. This is a dark fantasy, sort of Faustian tale story. It's a form of fairy tale, if you would. And this is the relationship between the villain, the relationship between Nician. This is jump-started by the death of Nician's wife from a disease, and in his grief, he is approached by Lucilius, who offers him a deal. In the revival of his wife, Nician pledges his service to the realm of shadow. This supplants Nician into the city of Gratul, a city to which he has lived within for many years, but has crime and also specific individuals outside of criminals who have vested interests. This is a story that does not start as it ends. The beginning will leave you with a very different feeling than where we end up. And if you are looking for a mature, grounded fantasy, this is absolutely it. Anyways, man, check it out. It is Charles Arlington on Amazon. Check his work out. And if you find that you're looking for creativity and imagination and a proper narrative, and if you find that you are looking for stories without a shallow execution, then check out Charles Arlington. Umbral Stalker is available in ebook, Audible, paperback, and hardcover. Anyways, back into the video. Does anyone ever get the sense that women look just like property? Anyways, guys, what's up? How's it going? So we're back for another one of these videos. We're talking about transformations. We're talking about what are the best transformations. Now, this video is going to be addressing both the minor and the major racial transformations in the research tree. So we can go right into here. And the way we're going to be doing this, first we're going to be talking through the major transformations, and then we will be talking through, I wish there was an easy way to look at all this, but whatever. Yeah, so anyways, we're going to be looking through all of the transformations. I actually think the best way to do this, let's just go up here. How about this? Let's go by tier. All right. So we're going to talk about major first, and we're going to go into minor second. So, starting with, where is it? We're going to be talking about, I'm just going to talk about, okay, by the way, PvE, this is in relation to PvE. I can't find a way to do freaking PvP because there's no one available for it, so whatever. Doesn't matter. So anyways, this is PvE, brutal difficulty, alright? What is best for this? So I'm going to talk about these separate transformations, and then I'm going to give to you my kind of ballpark estimation on what's good and what's bad. So we have right here Angelic Transformation. This gives you Celestial, which is huge because you're getting Aspiring Killer, which means that when you get kills, your allied units, they get a morale bonus, and then you're also getting Control Loss Immunity. This is huge because it allows you to neglect anything like Berserk, Dominated, any other form of mind control, any other form of losing control of your units, whatever that is. You are completely immune to that. So this is super nice because this just allows your units to always be within your control. This is really good for the Umbral Abyss, but also there's certain builds that give you a lot of insanity. So, you know, moving past insanity is a big deal. And by the way, picking up Celestial through Angelic Transformation, really important to do on damage builds, because if an enemy inflicts your unit with insanity, and your unit is a powerhouse, right? They're built to do damage and not really take damage. You know, you're building them as a glass cannon. you're going to have problems because that unit is going to be turning against your own units, and they're going to be one-shotting your own units. You don't want that. So really good to have control loss immunity on damage builds. We also get flying, and it's not so important on a tanky build, by the way. It's not really that important. Anyways, we get flying, so that's nice. So you don't have to, it allows you, so you don't have to, you will not embark into water. So you can fight on water, if you ever fight on water tiles at all, which I don't really do that ever, but regardless, you can fight on water tiles with these units without embarking. So you don't have to enter a boat and lose defense, resistance, and I think you also lose a little bit of damage, as I remember. So really good, really nice for allowing you to fight on water whenever that happens, and also you can go over a bunch of terrain types as well. Now keep in mind, if you are using a land mount, then you're not going to be flying over anything, okay? So you got to make sure that your mount can fly if you're using mounts. So anyway, then we also have Faithful, so it makes your units faithful, which has a couple of bonuses with things like Shrine of Smiting. You know, the unit which does more damage based on the amount of units that have Faithful. There's other things that gives you bonuses in combat for being faithful. Outside of that, it just gives you a unit upkeep reduction, which is nice. It saves mana and gold. And also another big thing is that it decreases the number of units in a formation, which means that, well, you know, if you have like 5 units in a formation, if you lose 20% of your hit points, then you lose one of those units, which means you lose 20% of your damage. So this is a good way of reducing the number of units in a stack for one specific unit, making it so that maybe you only have like 2 or 3 units left, which means that you only have to lose so much more HP before you lose that unit and lose your lose your damage within that one unit. Golly, I hate the terminology on this. Screw it, man. I'm just gonna say it, okay? It's just a unit stack, okay? You make one unit, that's a unit stack, all right? So when you make that one unit in their formation, in the unit stack formation, right, you lose a certain number of units, you lose damage with it. So it's a good way of preserving damage on your units by getting Angelic Transformation. It's just something extra. It's not like end of the world, but it does matter, you know? So anyway, we also have Astral Attunement. We get Ethereal here, which gives us negative lightning resistance, which can be really brutal. For sure, especially if someone specs into lightning damage. You also get extra defense. By the way, with Angelic, we do get spirit resistance and then negative on blight and frost, so keep that in mind. You do get a little bit squishier to certain things, but with Astral Attunement, of course, we're getting friendly spells cast, gives us a random positive status effect. So this is really good if you can do more than one spell a turn, and then that means you can get stuff like Rally, Regeneration, Bolster Defense, Bolster Resistance, and it just stacks and stacks and stacks as a combat goes on. Now, it's not really that powerful. There's other ways to get Strengthen, other ways to get Regeneration, other ways to get all these things. So I would actually say that Astral Attunement is one of the worst major racial transformations. By the way, Angelize is one of the better ones. You definitely want to pick that up in most of your playthroughs if it fits to your build, right? If you're doing a damage build, if you want to go into the Umbral Abyss, whatever else. So just think about what your build is and what the purpose is. And also, if your enemy's using a lot of Insanity, Angelize is really good. Astral Attunement, it's pretty much good against nothing. It's nice as a flavor racial transformation, but it's really not that strong. Okay, you get pass through. That does not matter. You know what also gives you pass through? Flying. So anyways, you also get immunity to bleeding. You also get immunity to diseased, immobilized, and poisoned. whatever, it's really not that big of a deal. I mean, not many things actually disease you to begin with. And there's ways to work around that anyways. It's really not that good. So I'm not a big fan. I don't like it. I never use it. I think it's dog trash. That's me personally. Maybe someone's queered it out and they figured out the best way to use it. I have not figured it out. But, you know, again, if you want to use it for fun, I guess you can use it for funsies. But on brutal difficulty, it's not going to do you that much good. It's going to be something else that you have to leverage into if you pick it up. Then we also have right here, this is minor racial. I'm just going to say Gold Touched is really good, but let's go down for the major ones first. So Plant used to give you charge resistance, as I remember, so it was really good for that. Now it's dog trash. I mean, +3 status resistance, who cares? Literally, who cares? It's not going to save you from a bunch of negative status effects, so screw it, I don't care about it. Then you get hit points. Okay, more hit points, so your units can take more damage before you lose damage on your units, or lose the unit in general. Okay. And then Plant, you get plus lightning resistance, and then there's nothing else. There's nothing else. It does not, dude, this is, no. Listen, some people, they try to swear by this. It's dog trash. It's not worth it. Don't do it. Just avoid it. Some people want to talk about, oh, you know, you do this, and then you get, you know, if you get the Tome 5 for nature, you can get Force of Nature, but it's like, okay, there's other ways to tap into that. You can go dragons, which is better. You can get cavalry. I mean, there's a bunch of ways that you can just already get Force of Nature, and Force of Nature is not even that good. So, nah, man. It's not good enough. I get it. It gives you damage, gives you crit. It's not worth it. There's better options. Angelize is better. Functionally, it's just, no. Tome of Paradise, Gaia's Chosen, becoming a plant sucks now. If it gave you charge resistance, I would understand that. That would be good on like melee builds. That would be cool, but that's it. But I mean, you know, charge resistance really, it's not even that crazy to begin with, but it's nice to have, I guess. Whatever. Moving on. By the way, Scion of Flame, super good. Then we get Whiteborn. This is a really good one. It gives you lifesteal. Now, of course, it doesn't do a lot. For repeating attacks, it gives you 5. And for singular attacks, it gives you 10 hit points. It's not that much. It's really not crazy. There's a bunch of other things that's basically the same, if not better. But, you know, and maybe, yeah, there's other things that are actually just objectively better. But it gives you health for attacking, which is a big deal. It's a good way of sustaining your units, and it's just implicit on your character, so it cannot be disrupted either. Things like mana addicted can be disrupted, and by the way, if you run out of spells to cast, then you start losing morale with mana addicted. This does not lose you morale, so that's pretty huge. We also become undead, so you get plus resistance to blight and frost, but you lose resistance to spirit and fire, which can really hurt you, by the way, a lot. So, you know, keep that in mind. And then you also get heartless, which means that it's harder to lose morale. That's a big deal. Makes it so that if your units die, or if you have a hero that has the 1v1 like an entire army stack, they're not going to run away as soon as otherwise they would, especially with mana addicted. Your heroes will run away in combat if they're the only one left standing, so that's not fun. We also get immunity to diseased, bleeding, and poisoned. It's really not that good. I'm gonna say it, I really like Whiteborn. It's great for sustaining your units with the lifesteal. However, it's nothing too crazy and nothing too special. So it's a good one, and I would definitely suggest that if you don't have mana addicted, I think that there's a lot of good playthroughs that you can pick it up and have a good time. However, And also if you have killing momentum or anything like that, then you get more healing off of it, right? Because if you're getting kills, then you can do more than one attack, but that's really situational. Typically, you're only getting 10 hit points or 5. You're typically not getting 15. So, you know, there's things that could make this better. Like if your abilities also gave you lifesteal, I think that would be a nice improvement. On certain characters, that would actually be overpowered, right? Just like on dragons, when they have lifesteal, through the shadow transformation, they can heal for like 40 or 50 hit points. It's crazy. So if that was allowed, this would be way better. This would be absolutely S tier, but you know, it's a good pickup. If you don't really want to pick up Angel Eyes or Gloomstrider or other good ones, you could definitely pick up Whiteborn, and I've been picking it up, and it's a good one. I really enjoy Whiteborn, so it's a good one. It's viable. It's just not the most overpowered because it's not really doing that much for you, so... But, you know, the morale loss reduction, that is nothing to overlook. That is actually really good. So, anyway, it's a really good one, and I've used it a couple of times. Whiteborn, it's fun too. And there's a lot of ways that you can work with it to make... It's just a good way of making your units tankier, which then makes it so that they can sustain in combat, and it just makes everything... It makes it so that they do more damage because, right, they're not losing units in their unit stack formation. It just does a lot of good things. So I think that Whiteborn's definitely good, but I definitely feel like I'm going out of my way to pick up the Tome of the Great Transformation because there's nothing else that's really that good. I mean, Fetid Legion is good, but it's like, it's nothing that is required. Domain of Death is good, but again, it just doesn't feel like I need this. But this is a really good tome in general because you get Bone Dragons and all that. By the way, Bone Dragons, they got a bunch of buffs, so they're much better than they used to be. Anyway. By the way, Super Growth is also super nice. This is really good. Decreases the number of units in your formation. So on certain units, you can literally just have one unit. So even if you lose 90% of your hit points, you're still doing 100% of your damage. And then you also get an extra retaliation attack. This is a really good minor racial transformation, especially on units that can do melee attacks. Really good stuff here. Because the amount of times in combat that you're using retaliation attacks, it's a lot. And by the way, you pair that with, right? You pair that with Whiteborn, and now you're doing multiple attacks in a turn. Now you can heal off of your lifesteal multiple times because you're getting extra retaliation attacks. So that's really cool. I really like Super Growth. There's a lot of times I don't pick it up because it feels like I'm going out of my way for it, but it's really good. So it's like, it's something you don't, you know, it's not so good on ranged units like rangers, support units, or battle mages, but it's good on skirmishers, polearm units, go down that list. So anyway, just had to mention that. Super Growth is super good on melee units. And even on ranged units, it's actually good because it decreases the number of units in a formation. So anyway, moving on. And by the way, that's a minor racial transformation. It's just really good. Steel Skin, by the way, super good. You know what? Okay, fine. I'm gonna... You know what? Minor racial transformations, there's nothing crazy to say about them. So, as we pass by them, we're just going to mention them. Okay, by the way, Gold Touched gives you +2 resistance. Super good. And it gives you gold per population in cities. And that includes both your vassals and your main cities. Super good. Gold Touched is S tier on the minor racial. Oh, then there's Naga. I forgot about Naga. A lot of people swear by Naga, and there is a lot going on for Naga. There is, compared to other ones, just based on stats. But I don't like it. I don't think it's that good. So what happens here? It equalizes the movement points on your units. That's number one. So everyone gets fast movement. So very fast units, they end up having just fast movement. And then units with 32 movement points, they end up having 40 movement points. So it equalizes everything. Everyone becomes a little bit faster. Some become slower, but it makes your the movement points centralized or just uniform for your army stacks. That's what it does. You also get amphibious, so you can go into water. Okay. And you also have faster movement on rivers and swamps. Keep that in mind. You have faster movement. That's nice. Which allows you to just breeze through the world map, by the way, as people have spoken about. But you have to make everything swamp or river, by the way, if you want to do that. So, moving on. You also get slip away, which is not really that powerful. It's like, it's based upon, the premise of this is that your unit's already going to die, but you're just making it harder for them to die. So typically what happens is they died, but then slip away makes it so that another enemy unit has to waste their turn trying to kill that unit. So it's just a way of wasting more enemy units and their turns and their attacks. But, you know, I don't really like the idea of like, you're holding out on dead units or units that are dying. I don't like building for that. Now you can, and it's effective for that use. It's just that, you know, because you will have units that die. So it's good for that usage there. I'm not a big fan of it. I just don't like the idea of leveraging my units for like leveraging certain effects for when they're going to die. I would rather sustain my units until they're dead, right? So like lifesteal, I would rather that, because at least as my unit, whatever it is, as it's attacking throughout a combat, you know, it could heal across the turns anywhere between 20 hit points to 30, 40, 50, 60 hit points if they're staying alive throughout a combat, which is typically anywhere between, you know, 4 to 10 turns. So you're going to always get more value in healing from your Whiteborn than you will from Naga. And that's why I don't like Naga. Now, yes, you're getting immunity from Electrified. Okay. I mean, not many things actually apply Electrified, but let's just act like that matters. Okay, fine. Then we also have Blight resistance, and okay. And then Lightning resistance. Okay. It's okay. And again, by the way, mounted units lose their mounts, which is fine. So, and also your hero units, they lose their leg equipment slots, which can matter, but typically in equipment slots, you're only putting in like defense, resistance, or you want to put in slip away into your boots. It's one or the other, or a mixture of all that, and that's all that you're really missing. So, you know, Naga is okay. It's not really powerful. A lot of people swear by it. A lot of people, they love the daylights out of this. I don't know why. At least every time I've looked it up, people are like, this is super good. You gotta use it, blah, blah, blah. Dude, I read it. Nah. I think that Whiteborn is better. You're getting more healing off of it. And I think that Angel Eyes, I think that Angel Eyes is better, personally. Because insanity is such a big deal. I mean, again, like if you're making units insane and they're killing each other, okay, they're going to slip away and then they're still going to die. So whatever, you know, it's way better that you have Angel Eyes where you do not gain insanity, berserk, or whatever else. So anyway, I don't like Naga. People love it. Apparently, maybe it's a psyop. Moving on. Scion of Flame is a great minor racial transformation. Definitely pick it up when you can, because it gives you Vengeful Flames, immunity to burning. That's a big deal. A lot of things burn you. And +4 fire resistance, and also Fiery Wake, which is really nice to have as well. So it's just a good way of like dealing damage to enemy units, and also has good synergy with the Tome of Famist, with the Fey Guile, and then also the Tome of the Flame Heralds, turning all flames into cleansing flames. Super good for that. The Cleansing Flames makes it so that your faithful units, or zeal, they lose negative status effects, super good. And condemned units, they lose positive status effects, really good. So this is super. Oh, and also, of course, they suffer burning, of course. So really good to use with this. So basically, this is what happens. If you have a unit and I've had this happen where an enemy unit mind controls one of my units. The unit runs across a piece of flora, sets it on fire, and immediately dispels the insanity, which is hilarious, and you get back that unit. And they don't attack any of your units. Really good. Or if there's burning grounds, again, I've had units, there's a huge swath of land that was burning. It was because of one of my dragons. And a unit, he got berserk. So he started running across the burning ground and he lost berserk, and I was able to use him for that turn. So you use this in conjunction with the Scion of Flame. And it makes it so that you're immune to burning, but also, you know, wherever you go, if there's any piece of foliage or whatever, it sets on fire and you lose a negative status effect. It has a lot of great uses. It's nothing to look past. Really good. If you have electrified, you lose electrified, right? Stuff like that. So it's just, again, Scion of Flame paired with Tome of the Flame, Heralds, Cleansing Flame, whatever. I call it Flame Herald. Anyways, super good, really good to use. I love it. I think it's just a really great. Honestly, the Scion of Flame is an S tier. Minor racial transformation, super powerful. The amount of synergies you can have with the Scion of Flame is just insane. Really good to use. I love it. Now, of course, by the way, a lot of units, they do resist the Vengeful Flames because it is a status effect. Even the damage they sustain is not going to be a lot, but it doesn't matter. There's so much going on in all this. It's just a really great minor racial transformation. Definitely pick it up. Pretty much every playthrough. And also you get Infernal Focus, which is also great. So anyways. Then we got, so anyways, just going up back into this. So Steel Skin, great, +2 defense. Yeah, you get negative lightning resistance, but it's just good all around. You can trade it off very quickly. It's obviously your weakest damage type is going to be lightning resistance in most playthroughs, but you do not want to miss out on Steel Skin. It's really good for minor racial transformations. I wish there was an elemental racial transformation. I don't know why there isn't. I mean, I think that the Giants DLC, it's probably, nah. I mean, they should do something that makes you elemental, but I don't know. I mean, I don't want them to exactly do an elemental racial transformation, but I would definitely be interested in something that is synergistic with elemental. Then we have Draconian Transformation here. Turns you into a dragon. By the way, the nice thing with Draconic Transformation is that there are no negative amplifiers to your resistances. So that's really good. There's no debuffs with it. But of course, it's super lukewarm. This is something that you just basically pick up. Oh, wait. Did I? Okay, I didn't forget anything. Anyways, super lukewarm. There's nothing special going on here. Again, you're just picking up a major racial transformation. You can't lose or win. Well, okay, you do win with this one, but there's no, I guess, major victories. No, I mean, this is actually pretty good all around. So this is a really good lukewarm transformation because there's nothing negative about it. As you lose damage, if you get beneath 60%, you gain 30% damage. So again, when you're beneath 60% hit points, so if you, I don't know, there's really not that many units that have a low unit count. Typically with a lot of units, they have like 3 units in a stack. If you get super growth, then they only have 2. So in some cases, you can actually gain damage off of this. In other cases, you're just sustaining damage as you lose damage, right? Because your units in the formation are dying. Regardless though, I mean, it's just a good way of sustaining damage throughout combat, so it's really good for that. Makes it so that, right, your units, they don't lose damage. I mean, that's just such a big deal. So that's something really nice about Draconic Rage. Sometimes you're gaining damage, other times you are sustaining damage despite how damaged your units are getting. There's nothing you can overlook. I mean, that alone just makes Draconian transformation really good. Then we also get natural regeneration, which is a good way of healing. Now, it's not really dependable because if you have back-to-back combats, which you will, or if you have injured units, then you're not going to be healing a whole lot because you only heal the maximum hit points that you went into a combat with. So you do get more healing per turn on the world map, which is really nice to have. But your in-combat healing is only going to be good if you have full health, which you don't always have that. So, you know, that's something to pay attention to. But again, it's good healing. You know, if you have like 200 health or 200 health or 150 health, then you're healing either 20 or 15 health points, right? And then, yeah, whatever. I mean, it's just... And then if you only have 100 health, okay, then that's... In most units, they can get to 100 health. So that's only 10 hit points you're healing in combat if you start with 100 health. So this can be really good or really bad, you know? But it's a really good, lukewarm, major racial transformation. If you just want to have bonuses, but you don't want to have any deficits, then okay, you can pick it up. But there's just nothing too special it's doing, and it's really... It used to be better than this, by the way. You used to get flying out of it, and I think like something else, but they nerfed it. So it's a good one. It's just not that crazy. Anointed People gives you status resistance, makes it harder to get negative status effects. Really good for that. Anointed People, really strong. And then you also get spirit resistance. So that's a really good minor racial transformation. You can definitely pick it up. And it does make you tankier, right? Because you're harder to affect with status effects in general. So that's good. Whatever. By the way, it's really easy to apply status effects, negative status effects, I would say. So Vessels of Chaos is basically a flat 30% bonus in damage, really good for doing more damage with your units. There's no way that you can lose with this. It's just super good. It typically, right, it takes 1 unit to apply anywhere between 2 to 3 or even 4 status effects. So very quickly you can build this up and do 30% damage, but typically it means that some other unit or a spell has to damage a unit before you get the 30%. But once you get that 30%, I mean, right, you're doing more damage. So Vessels of Chaos is a really good minor racial transformation. Then we get Frostling transformation. It's really nice. It's not really powerful exactly, but you know, you get extra morale automatically on cold terrain. So if you're doing basically an Iceborne playthrough, then you can get with Marching Winter, you can get a combat bonus with that extra morale. That's nice. You also get Arctic Walk, which is nice to have. You also get immunity to frozen, which is huge, so you cannot be frozen. In certain units, they can freeze you, so this is a really good way of making sure that you always have your units available in combat. And there's a couple of things now, like Comet of Calamity that freezes you. So actually, I think this used to not be that good, but now I would actually say this is probably S tier. And by the way, in this tome, you are getting Frost Spire, so you can build for more knowledge on your provinces. So that's really good. I always get this tome, so I always get Frostling. Just really good to get all together. I love it. But I mean, the tome, I love the tome. But outside of the tome, I think that Frostling transformation is actually really good. When you're reading it, you're like, I don't know if all these things are really that good. It just seems like a lot of filler. But in the end, there's so much going on for this. It's a really good minor racial transformation. So now for another major racial transformation, we have Gloomstrider, which is new. Well, you know, air quotes. It came out with the Eldritch DLC. Really good. By the way, this is post Ways of War DLC. Just gotta say that real quick. This video. But anyways, with this, we get... This used to give you +2 defense, by the way. They nerfed it, sadly. But anyways, we get -2 to fire and spirit. So keep that in mind. It hits you a little bit. But you also get Curse Eater, which, by the way, so this is really good. This is really good if you want another way of being immune, largely immune to stuff like Berserk, stuff like, because this is at the, what is it? At the start of your turn, you lose a negative status effect. That's really good. And you heal 10 hit points. So this is a good stand-in, by the way, for Whiteborn. Now, what this depends upon, with Whiteborn, you can have a healthy unit, has not been attacked, and they can heal. It's a guaranteed heal. Now, the problem with the Umbral Demon is that you have to be attacked, right? To get a status effect. So you have to lose health in order to heal with this. With Whiteborn, you don't have to be attacked to heal. So keep that in mind. But, you know, if you get Insanity, Berserk, whatever else, this is a great way, turn after turn after turn, of just removing negative status effects, basically for free. And it makes it so that, right, you get electrified, you're losing that negative status effect. You get burned, you're losing that negative status effect. Now, of course, by the way, this is disabled if the unit is burning. And I don't think that was always the case. I think, again, they nerfed it. So, but again, Scion of Flame, super good. Immune to burning. So again, it makes it so that now you eat away at poisoned, burning, go down the list. Whatever's negative, you lose that. And then you heal. So it's super good for healing, super good for losing negative status effects, which again, think about it. You're losing a negative status effect, so you're no longer being damaged. So that's a form of healing right there. You're preventing damage. And then you're healing on top of that. So just really good all around. It's a good way of preserving your units. Even though Whiteborn is really good for units that are not getting attacked and just sustaining their health across combat, this is a really good way of alternatively sustaining your units as they're getting attacked. They're going to be removing negative status effects, which is really important. Now, of course, if they get one shot, well, that sucks, but whatever. Really good all around. I love Gloomstrider. It is an absolute S tier. And then you also get immunity to Umbral Melody, so you can go into the Umbral Abyss with this. Really good to have. Again, this is a good stand-in for Angel Eyes. Again, there's certain things that are really nice about Angel Eyes, but this can take the place of Angel Eyes. It's a lesser form of Angel Eyes, a lesser form of Whiteborn. Has a lot of stuff in one major racial transformation. On top of this, you get floating, which is great. So you get the movement cost of 5 on everything, apart from mountains. Okay, interesting. And also you can fight on water tiles without losing any resistance or damage. Right? It doesn't show me embarked. Anyways, but you do lose your mounts and you do lose your leg equipment slots on your heroes. But this is super good. I love using Gloomstrider, and I think it's probably... And by the way, again, they did nerf it. It used to be stronger than this. Way stronger. So... It's still good though. It's just that now it's not like... It used to be like the only thing to pick up. This was so good. when he gave you that +2 defense, oh man, it was so good. But whatever, it's still good, but you know, make your choice. This, Whiteborn, Angel Eyes, something else that's good. Again, maybe Naga. I don't think Naga's good, but some people say it's good. I don't know why. Then we have Fey Touched, which is really nice because this makes you immune to the Clinging Mist, which you will run into in your playthroughs. So it makes it so that you can guarantee your attacks, melee, physical, and magic, on enemy units. So that's really nice. Vision penalties you ignore from the Fey Touched, the Fey Guile. And then you also get Fey Guile. And this is the best part. This is a minor racial transformation, one of the best in the game. Again, this is why Astral Attunement is so bad, because there's so many other ways that you can get a random positive status effect while also getting a bunch of other good effects from other racial transformations or whatever else. And by the way, do not forget, you know, Draconic transformation is also good. It's just, anyway, just moving on. Fey Guile, right? When you're sitting in a bush or you're sitting in a mist cloud, you have to just be obscured in some way, but typically you are obscured because you're in foliage of some kind. But however you get obscured, or however you are sitting in a mist cloud, however it's happening, you get a random positive status effect. This can be really easy to trigger because, right, if you use Lingering Mist, or, right, you're sitting in a bush, you get a random positive status effect. That's regeneration, bolster defense, go down the list. Really good, love it. It's always a good one to pick up. Leaf Skin, this is something I typically actually skip on. It's really good, but there's so many other options. I find that I can never actually research it in a playthrough. So the problem is that I never picked this up because it's only +1 resistance instead of +2 on Gold Touched. And it's really good to have. It's just that you have to go out of your way to get this. You do get Forest Walk, but okay, I mean, how many forests are you walking through? So anyways, it's good, but there's so many other options. It's like an A tier. If you're running out of options to pick up, then you can pick it up. But like Super Growth is better. There's a bunch of other ones that are just better, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, resistance is a big deal, but you know what I mean. I think that maybe Super Growth is better though. Maybe, especially on a melee build, it is better. Maybe on a ranged unit build, you want to get Leaf Skin. So moving on. Then we also have Living Shadows, which is a new. This is with the Ways of War. Really good minor racial transformation, gives you evasion. So you have an increased chance of missing enemy projectiles. That's really good. And then also within 2 hexes, your attackers have a chance of gaining blind, which is great defensively, right? It cancels out True Strike, it cancels out retaliation attacks, and it applies -50% on physical ranged attacks and magic attacks on top of your evasion. This is so good. And of course it comes with Shadow Blades, which is nice. But outside of that, it is so good because it makes you that much more defensible, harder to kill. Really good. It's a must grab. It makes you so survivable in so many ways. And then on top of that, we also get Shadow Blades, so you get a lot of damage with it on your melee units too. Super good. Linked Minds, this is something that is really good to get. Gives you hyper awareness. Now, you're not always going to be standing next to another unit, let alone a racial unit. But if you are, it's just really good because it makes you immune to flanking. Now, it is countered by Distracted, And again, remember with this, you either have to be standing next to a construct unit or another unit, racial unit with linked mines. So, regardless, this is really nice to have. I wish there was a way that you could give your units construct, by the way. Really nice here. Wow. Construct units get a lot of good stuff, but the -4 on lightning, that hurts. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, hyper awareness, super good, just makes you way more defensible. Because flanking attacks, they damage you both, you know, extra damage, 25%, that's a lot. And then also, there's extra morale damage with flanking attacks. So it's a great way of sustaining your units, having linked mines. It's great to have. Then we get here. We get where's the then we have Joy Siphoners. This is a great one to pick up as well. Good stuff in the tome, by the way. Same thing with Tome of Construct. This has a lot of good stuff in the tome. But right here, Tome of the Doom Herald, we get Joy Siphoners, which makes it so that we steal morale on hit, which I think that means you're giving your own unit morale, right? I think that's, I mean, it says stealing it, so it's really good for sustaining morale. That's huge, man. That's huge. Really good. I mean, you have no idea how big of a deal that is. It says stealing, so I'm gonna guess you're gaining that morale. That is so strong. This is an absolute S tier, and I typically wait a long time to get this. I don't know why. This is so good, though. Wait. Morale loss is doubled if the target has high morale? Wow. Man, Joy Siphoners is so good. So you can take away that unit and their critical chance from having high morale. And this is so good, by the way, for getting them quickly into a state of low morale. And then on top of that, we can get cruel weaponry, which is nice. So, wow. This is really good to have. Really good. And by the way, you steal more if you have a attack that is non-repeating. So, really good. Joy Siphoners, it's a must grab most of the time. Reducing that morale. By the way, it's actually good on units that are largely immune to morale, because low morale will cause them to fumble their attacks. So that's also really good. It's just, yeah, Tome of the Doom Herald, really good. Joy Siphoners, you always want to grab that, pick it up. Now, we also have something called Reveler's Heart here, another minor racial transformation. You get extra, 50% extra morale from all sources. It's really not that great. Now, well, okay, hold up. But you are getting, okay, if they're correct in saying that you are actually stealing morale, then that does mean that you're getting 50% more morale, which means that's instead of 4, that's 6. That's really good. Wow. So, you know, Reveler's Heart, it's not good on its own, but it is really good in conjunction with Joy Siphoners. So definitely, because by the way, it's a big deal. When you have units that are dying and you have like a unit that's especially a hero unit, keep that in mind. When your hero unit is in a situation where they have to like 1v12 an entire 2 stacks of armies because all the rest of your units are dead, but your hero is strong enough to last against 12 units in an enemy army, you're going to want them to have Reveler's Heart plus Joy Siphoners so that they can sustain their morale. Because there's a lot of combats where I have a hero that can go against 12 enemy units and sustain themselves and win. But the problem is that they don't have the morale. They lose too much morale to go through the entire combat. So right here, if you get Tome of Revelry and Joy Siphoners here, you can make it where they can really sustain and never run away. Because typically what happens is they never actually get defeated, but they run away out of combat because they, low morale, they start, because of low morale, they start rooting. And because they start rooting, well, they leave, you know? So, Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, that sucks. So you want to make sure that your units are always fighting in combat. That's the main thing here. Now, Draconic Vitality. I typically never pick this up. This is a good one for giving 15 hit points onto a legendary rank unit. An extra 15 hit points. So it's good. Makes them tankier. But then also on your hero units, they also get the extra 15 hit points. So it's a good way of making yourself tankier. It's nothing crazy. I typically skip it just because there's other better things to get. I mean, getting more defense or resistance is better than getting hit points. But hit points is a big deal, right? More hit points means more to go through. But regardless, you know, if it's something, if you have nothing else to pick up, which typically that is never the case, then you could pick up Draconic Vitality. Or if you want to buff up the buff from Draconic Transformation, then okay, you can pick this up. But typically I don't really suggest grabbing this. It's not really the best of the minor racial transformations. There's better, right? Like Super Growth is better. Anyways. But, you know, if it's available, definitely pick it up. It's a good one. It's just that there's so many better options. So this is like an A tier or a B tier. Draconic Vitality. We also have Spawnkin, which on its face, it looks good. You're getting evasion on hero units, extra damage on non-hero units, and it's incompatible, by the way, with Super Growth. But here's the issue. You increase the number of units in a formation, which means that, okay, you're doing more damage, but when you lose units, okay, you're losing less damage per unit being lost in the formation as you take damage. But then that just means that you're still losing damage. I don't really like it. You know, I get it. It's a bit of a weird trade-off, and it's only good as an alpha strike minor racial transformation. So for your first combat turn, if you do not get damaged, this is good for securing damage on your non-hero units. That's it. That's what this is good for. Or if your units are tanky and they can heal a lot of damage or sustain a lot of damage and then heal or whatever, you know, there's a way to regain a lot of lost hit points, then this is good. It gives you extra damage. But again, it's up to you. I mean, me personally, I think that Super Growth is just better. Decreases the number of units. It's easier to sustain damage, and also you get an extra retaliation attack. But typically on Spawnkin, you want to grab this for ranged builds, typically. So you know, rangers, battle mages, maybe skirmisher units, maybe. Typically on skirmisher units, you want to get retaliation through Super Growth. So it's up to you. Then we've got, but by the way, Super Growth is typically also really good on tanky builds as well. I mean, I think that goes without saying, but you know, just keep that in mind. You got to think about the dynamics of these things, how they work. Animal Kinship, by the way, this is really good if you grab linked mines, because the AI is going to prefer sticking your units together. So if they're going to be sticking together, you might as well have them get a bonus to damage and crit chance. This is one of the few ways that you can get implicit crit chance on both your heroes and your racial units. So this is a great way of giving your heroes and your racial units more crit chance at a baseline and damage. Really good. I love getting Animal Kinship here and there. It's definitely something that you have to go out of your way for, but it is a great way of just boosting up your overall damage. And again, crit chance, this is great for early game and just all throughout the game. Your racial units will constantly be giving each other more damage by just standing next to each other. That's so good. Then we have Inner Mastery. Now this is a really nice one to have, actually. It's easy to skip over this because there's so much else to grab, but this is a really good racial transformation here. You get 20% more healing. Okay, that's really nice. So 10 healing turns into 12. Okay, nice. And, you know, it's not a lot in one turn, but when you're healing that extra 20% over 5 turns, that quickly turns into a good bit of healing. It's a good amount, you know, like for Curse Eater or for Whiteborn. You're just getting more healing in general. Everything heals you more, which is so big. I mean, it's just, honestly, I mean, regeneration heals you more. Everything heals you more. So this is something, absolutely pick it up. Now, again, the problem is there's so many good options, but I would actually say this is an S tier because it heals your heroes more, and you're also getting a status resistance point, which is really good for your, you want to get status effect immunity rings for your heroes, but on your generic units, your racial units, it's really nice to get more status resistance so that it's harder, right, to get afflicted with insanity or whatever else. So really good to grab this. I love this tome for the inner mastery, and it has some other good stuff with it as well. So it's a really good tome, the Tome of Discipline, but inner mastery, definitely pick it up. Tome of the Rock, +1 defense, mountain camouflage. Now this is nice that you get mountain walk. That's pretty nice, you know. It's faster to move through mountains and cliffs. I would say that's actually a bigger deal than forests, right? But again, it's only +1 defense, but I will tell you this. It is much more difficult to get bolstered defense than it is to get bolstered resistance in combat. So I actually think that Earthkin is way better than Leafkin because it's way more difficult to get defense than it is resistance in the game. And by the way, you do want to get more resistance than defense. Keep that in mind. It's just that it's a good way to just top yourself off on defense. That's all. But outside of that, you know, Earthkin, I would say it's like, I would say that like Leafkin is a B tier, and I would say that Earthkin is an A tier, you know, just in proximity of importance, right? Anyway, then we get magical wards here. It's a minor racial transformation. It's nice. It gives you +2 resistance on frost, fire, and lightning. The biggest one is lightning, right? There's so many ways to lose lightning resistance. It's really important to grab this here. And then also you get frost and fire, and like if you get the Gloom Strider, okay, +2 fire resistance. I guess that's nice. So it's just like, it's just good, right? You're getting a little bit more resistance. Because a lot of people, they do build lightning. Well, okay. You know, I'm saying in PvP, a lot of people build lightning damage, but I just know that. But regardless, the AI is what we're talking about here. And the AI has a lot of fire damage, a lot of lightning damage, and also a lot of poison. But again, like Steel Skin already has you covered on that. And then you can already get Frostling transformation, but by the way, there is a lot of frost damage in the game. So this is a really good one because there's actually a lot of damage types that this is really good for. So it's not a crazy one to get, but it definitely makes you tankier. So, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you though. I think grab Leafkin before you grab this. Because Leafkin, it gives you +1 resistance. That's against Spirit. That's against, what else? Poison. And then these other ones here as well. So, I mean, it just applies to more. And I think you want to get +1 to everything rather than +2 to a couple of things, right? So, but you know, if you have nothing else to get and you're going for a tanky build, Magical Wards is really good. It's just not required. There's other things that you can grab. So I would say this is like a B or a C tier. Let's just say it's B tier, right? You want to get Leafkin before you get this though. As far as I am concerned. Oh, and I guess that's it. Wow. Is that really it? Is that really? Oh, and then there is right here, Umbral Flesh. Gives you Umbral Melody immunity, so you can go into the Umbral Abyss. You get +10 morale on Gloom Terrain. This is just so good, man. Oh my gosh, dude. Gloom Terrain is so good. You get +12 hit points per turn on the world map. for healing. That's so good. And then you get knowledge. That's really good. And then you ignore the city stability penalties from gloom terrain. That's huge. Really good to have this. Umbral Flesh is a really great minor racial transformation as long as you have gloom terrain. But like, this is, by the way, gloom is the best terraforming option in the game. Absolutely the best. So anyways, I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else. I'm a little bit surprised that we're done. I mean, okay, we're an hour into this, so what the frick? But, you know, I guess I thought it was going to go longer, so I kind of shared with you all my thoughts. Obviously, I shared with you what's the best to grab. Now, everything that we went through, just considering all of it, what are the best options, right? What would I suggest to you in most of your playthroughs? Focus this stuff out. Make sure you grab this first and foremost before you get other things. I think that you want to grab Angel Eyes, and especially if you have a damage build, you want to get Angel Eyes. You can risk it and grab Gloomstrider, but again, just know that sometimes Gloomstrider, right? You have so many negative status effects, you're not going to chew through Insanity, Berserk, or Mind Control. So just keep that in mind. But again, if you have a one-shot build that you're going for, just heavy damage, you're gonna want to have Angel Eyes just to make yourself safe and not have a bunch of units kill each other because of control, because of mind control or anything similar to it. If you're going for, again, Astral Attunement, I wish that was good, but it's dog trash. Gold Touched, always get this. Super good for gold and everything else. Naga, me personally, not a fan. Definitely build Scion of Flame, as I said. Whiteborn, I would say, is typically good. It gives you a lot of healing, but you can skip it for other things, and I think you can make it work. Super Growth is really good with a lot of tanky builds or just melee builds in general. Steel Skin, definitely pick up Steel Skin. This gives you blight resistance and defense, really good. And of course it does have the trade-off of lightning resistance, but whatever. Draconian Transformation, right here. This right here, I typically skip this, but there are times where this is really good, especially if you want to go the Tome 5 for the Nature Tree, okay? Then you can definitely pick up Draconian and get extra crit. Oh, we forgot something in all this. We're gonna get to it soon. But you can get extra crit and extra damage out of this. Really good. Now, we were not able to find this tome. Oh, it's right here. So we have Demonkin, which gives you Infernal Fiend. Now, they've changed this a lot. Nobody likes to pick this up because it's not good. Now, it is hypothetically good, but on brutal difficulty, everything is about being more defensible at a certain point. Getting healing is a bigger deal than getting damage. So I typically don't like getting this. You get fire resistance, but then you get negative spirit and frost, which, by the way, that's going to hurt you because there's a lot of spirit and frost damage, and that stuff can hit you like a freaking tank. You get now extra crit chance with this, and also Desolate Walk. Listen, Desolate Walk, it doesn't always really apply to anything, just going to be honest. More specifically, the crit chance, it's actually really easy to get up to 100 crit chance. The only reason you would pick this up is for magical units, so battle mages, mage heroes, typically mages, well no, actually, defender heroes now. Mage heroes now can get crit chance, so now it's just defender heroes that are lacking on crit chance. So the only reason you're getting this is either for your defender hero or you're getting this for racial units that are that happen to be support units or battle mages, but everyone else can get a lot of crit chance through unit enchantments. So it's really not that good. Now, yes, the crit chance is implicit on your unit, but it's really not that good. You do get flying, which is nice. And then there's frenzy. But again, there's no way of sustaining your units, and that's the problem. Now, for damage, is this a really good major racial transformation? Absolutely. Are you really squishy? Yes, and that's the problem. I don't like being squishy. It makes you easy to kill on your units and also reduce the units in the formation in the unit stack. So then, you know, you're losing a bunch of damage with that. I don't like that. But listen, if you have a good way of securing damage, securing your health, therefore securing your damage, then okay, this is good, but it's only good. It's not that great. Because you can still gain insanity, berserk, and attack your own units. I don't like that. So, you know, it's up to you, but it's something you can make it work, especially if you're doing a damage build. I'm just not a big fan, and I actually think there's way better ways to go. I'm gonna be honest with you for a second. You know what's better than Demonkin? Just grab Draconic Transformation that gives you healing, and it gives you damage with Draconic Rage as you lose health points. And then on top of that, just grab the Tome 5, although honestly, the Tome 5 for the Astral Tree is the only one you want to get because of Disruption Wave. But, you know, let's act like you don't want to get the Tome 5 for whatever reason. But, okay, whatever, man. Okay, just hypothetically, though, Tome 5 plus Draconic Transformation is better than this. But, of course, then you're not getting the Tome 5 from either the Chaos or the Astral. So, you know, it's really up in the air. I don't like it. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't think it's good. Again, Guys Chosen, not great. It used to be okay. It's not good anymore. So I would not suggest picking up these three, Naga, Plants, through the Gaia's Chosen, or the Demonkin. I don't think they're good. I typically skip them. Then we have Scion of Flame. Always pick it up. Oh, Astral Blood. Jeez Louise. I skipped this too. This is a tome you will always get. It's just so good. There's so much that's in here that's so powerful. But okay. Astral Blood, always get this. This is the best. Well, you're always building this. This is one of the best, though, minor racial transformations in the game, because every time you use a spell, all of your racial units, they gain fortune. Every time you use a spell, which gives you plus 10% critical hit chance. This is such a big deal. This gives you 30% hit chance, just basically baseline. I mean, you know, it takes 3 combat turns, but it doesn't matter. It's a great way of giving yourself more crit chance on your heroes and on your racial units. Super good. Astral Blood, absolute must pick up. But of course, I mean, you're always going to get Tome of Amplification. It's so good. But anyway, again, sometimes grab Whiteborn. It's good, but again, there's things to trade it off with, so it's up to you and your build. Super Growth, again, most of the time you're building it, as I said. Where were we? Yeah, Tome of Dragons. I typically don't build Draconian Transformation, but it's good, and you can definitely build it, and you won't regret anything. Then we have Vessels of Chaos. It's great for damage. If you're doing a damage build, or even if you're doing a tanky build, this is a great way of getting more damage in general, for any build. Because you will always, by the way, you will always have negative status effects on enemies. So just grab Vessels of Chaos. Really good. Then Then we have Frostling transformation. Obviously, I always build this because of Frost Spire. You're getting extra research. So, I mean, it's a must grab altogether, this tome and the transformation. But yeah, it's a good transformation. Definitely pick it up. I always build it. Gloomstrider. It's really good to grab in a lot of playthroughs. Here's the thing I really like about having any transformation that removes your mounts and gives you floating or gives you, you know, Naga. You're able to slither on the ground. What I really like about this is that it allows you to use things like the Mage Lock Rifle, the Sword and Kunai, anything that you can't use on a mount, you can use, you know, without a mount. And you still get a lot of movement points regardless. Really nice. I really like that about this. So you're not tethered, or you're not restricted to having to use mounts when you grab Gloomstrider or Naga transformation. Really nice. And again, then we have, I typically build Fey Touched at some point in my playthroughs because it's so good. Leafkin, I typically don't grab Leafkin, but if it fits into my build and I've researched everything else, then I do grab it. I always do Living Shadows. This is a must build, super good for defensibility. Way better than Leafkin just because of everything it's doing for you. Linked Minds. I always get Linked Minds because I try to get extra knowledge out of the Worker Construct Nexus. Outside of that, though, you know, Linked Minds, though, it's always a good one to build. Me personally, I always build it in all my playthroughs. It's a great way of reducing the damage dealt to your units. Joy Siphoners, I always build this because of the research from Doom Depth. But on top of that, stealing a bunch of morale is a big deal. I never grab the Tome of Revelry, but this is a good tome, by the way. And Reveler's Heart with Joy Siphoners, right? Really good duo. I typically never pick up Evolution, the Tome of Evolution, so I never get Draconic Vitality. It's good on its own, but right, I never pick it up. I typically never pick up Spawnkin. It doesn't really seem that viable, but there's certain builds, if you're doing a damage build or like you're doing an Alpha Strike build, then you can do it. It's good for damage. And again, Tome of Beasts, I typically pick this up if I want to get extra damage and crit chance. Really good to grab. Again, as we said, this is typically a must build. Getting Inner Mastery gives you that status resistance and the extra healing, so just really good all around. Tome of the Rock, right? I typically don't build this, but sometimes I have built it, and it's a really good one to build when you get around to it. So definitely something to consider. I typically don't build magical wards like ever, so I typically skip it. And yeah, that's the rundown there. That's kind of like the order. So, you know, you kind of have an idea of like what's a must build, what's something like, typically whatever it is I build in all my playthroughs, it's because it's really good. And recently I've started building more and more Vessels of Chaos just because of how much damage you're getting out of it. So anyways, yeah, that's pretty much how I do most of my playthroughs, and it just makes you, whenever you grab these really good tomes with the really good transformations, you're just going to have really good units by the end of it. So anyways, that is the end of it here. I don't know what the next video is going to be. I don't know if I'm going to address the unit enchantments. I could. So we'll see. I might do another tier list coming into the future. And by the way, I think I will do a tier list for the next update, the next DLC, the Giants DLC, when it comes out.